The Pats are putting on the pads. Your New England Patriots begin padded practices today in Foxborough. What does it mean for the Pats in the long run? Stick around, because you're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage and also your first listen every day. Locked On Patriots is free and available on all platforms, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Patriots a part of your daily Patriots coverage. And don't forget, free and available on all podcast apps, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button on YouTube and download, subscribe to, and follow Locked On Patriots wherever you get your audio podcasts. I am your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Sports Illustrated. Feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some love to the Twitterverse, follow the Locked On Patriots account as well at LO_Patriots. And folks, as you can see, it is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday. The legendary Thomas Murphy himself will be popping in here right in a moment to help us break down all your training camp action. But first, today's episode, folks, is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, more odds, and more lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Pats fans, the first week of training camp is now in the books for your New England Patriots, and week 2 has kicked off. Padded practices began on Monday in Foxborough. Some unexpected surprises are already starting to pop a bit, and what to expect when you do put on those pads. Well, joining me here today to help break it all down is truly one of our favorites on the pod, the only guest with his very own branded hashtag. That's right, folks. It is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday, which means the legendary Thomas Murphy of E2Gsports.com is here. Thank you for coming to me in friendship, and thank you for joining me today, Don Murph.
It wouldn't be Monday if we didn't get together a couple of times.
Absolutely. It would not be Monday unless we did. You know, I almost feel like we could do this again, Murph. I almost feel like we could just completely do this again, day after day. Yep. Groundhog Day doesn't mean anything to us. We're happy to relive it because if it brings us Locked On Murph Monday each and every day, we're happy here at Locked On Patriots. Buddy, before we dive into padded practices, hot off the presses early this morning, according to ESPN, punter Jake Bailey and the Patriots reaching an agreement on a 4-year, $13.5 million contract, includes $6.5 million fully guaranteed, running through the 2025 season. Jake remaining in New England, and this new deal makes Bailey one of the league's 3 highest paid punters.
Yep.
Murph, this contract extension, this news kind of seems like it's a foregone conclusion, almost like it was inevitable that this was going to happen. But earlier in the offseason, there were some people that were a little skeptical of that, myself included. We talked and invoked the name of Matt Araiza here on Locked On Patriots several times, a highly touted punter, the punt god, so to speak.
Right.
Off in Buffalo, very painful, but we don't want to talk about that right now. We still have a great one here in New England, and it's a battle-tested punter. We know what Jake Bailey can do,
right.
Truly one of the best at his position. When you look at Bailey's contract extension, first of all, what are your thoughts on Bailey remaining in New England, and what do you think this means for the Pats in the long term?
Well, I love it. I love Bailey staying here in New England. It immediately gives Bill a little more cap space to go chase down some refugees from cutdowns. And as for Bailey himself, he had a bit of an off year last year, and that's why we were talking about Matt Araiza and bringing in some other guys to maybe make it a little more competitive this year. But it seems more like there were some injury issues maybe last year with Bailey that he was dealing with that a lot of people didn't understand or didn't know about, and he's kicking the ball well. So
yeah,
Bill knows when he's kicking the ball well and he's feeling good, that you don't get much better than Jake Bailey. You don't. I have literally watched. Everybody knows the quarterback game where you sit there and you drop back and you try to throw balls into garbage cans at the corner of the end zone at the end of practice, just screwing. I've seen Jake Bailey do that with his foot.
Mhm.
Okay, I've seen Jake Bailey hit that freaking garbage can with his foot. So this is a guy that deserves the money. I love him. I'm glad he's here for next year. Go out and get your Jake Bailey jerseys now, folks. Go out and get them now. Kickers count, people. Nobody on the planet flips the field the way Jake Bailey does. Nobody pins anybody inside the 5 yard line the way Jake Bailey does, and I'm just thrilled.
Yeah, those crowd pleasing, aesthetically pleasing punts by Jake Bailey in training camp are definitely something to marvel at. Our good friend Alex Barth of 98.5 The Sports Hub does an amazing job of chronicling Jake's hang time,
Yep.
and really, I think, putting it together better than anybody. If you haven't followed Alex on this, please
Right.
do so, folks.
Yep.
He's the best in the business
He
at
is
tracking Jake Bailey.
fantastic.
Absolutely. But I completely agree with you. I mean, when you look at what he's done here in his first 3 seasons in New England,
Yep.
185 punts, 8,632 yards. That's a
Man,
lot of leg, Murph. That
I
is a
haven't walked
lot.
that far. I haven't walked that
Yeah,
far in the past 3 years.
absolutely. It's true. It really is. I mean, really, I mean, you think about it, it really is just absolutely amazing. 46.7 yards per punt. 2020, obviously his flagship season. He's named, a first team All Pro, earned a Pro Bowl
Pro.
selection. So, really, I think, and he's also very good at kickoffs too. I think people
Yeah.
forget about that. They focus on the punts, and rightfully so.
Yep.
I mean, these things are absolute rainbows. Our good buddy Steve Balistrieri and I sat in that sweltering, heat in the Patriots media tent covering training camp, watching Jake just moonshot these punts, through the roof and beyond. Some of them actually probably haven't landed yet. One of them actually may be entering his airspace,
There's one
this
stuck in a
afternoon.
bubble. There's one
Yeah,
stuck in a bubble. Got
absolutely.
a
Yep.
stucky.
Yeah, got to go get the got to go get the stick to pop it out, Murph. But no, all kidding aside, as a kickoff specialist, averages 53.7 touchback percentage, 227 career kickoffs in the last 3 years. So when you look at Jake Bailey and you look at his prowess, there's no
Yep.
question about it, folks. He's got it. People look at the 3 blocked punts last year, maybe not the same type of pin experience,
No.
and I think that's why people were a little maybe a little early
I,
to talk about this kid possibly, not seeing the future here in New England. And then you look at the $4+ million cap hit. All of a sudden, things started to make a little sense. But the Patriots lower that with this extension, and I think they clearly made the right move here.
yeah. Those block punts were not on Bailey. They
Yeah.
they weren't. They were on special teams coaching. They were on guys missing assignments. That was not on Jake Bailey.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And, does this spell the end of undrafted rookie punter Jake Julian here in New England
Mm,
as a possibility? A kid out of Eastern Michigan came in as a UDFA. A lot of people think that maybe there's a
yep.
chance he sticks on the practice squad. I wouldn't definitely discount it. I mean, this kid's got a leg as well. He averaged 43.4 yards per punt across his career. He's a right footer from Canada. But at this point, I mean, there's no question about it. Jake is your starter. He should be
Right.
your starter. He'll remain that. This is a good financial deal too, Murph. And I think we
It
kind of
is.
alluded to this. We danced around it a little bit, but his cap charge went from 4+ million down to 1.85 million, according to
Right.
Mike Reese of ESPN. With the Patriots savings now, they're going to have in excess of $4 million available, anywhere from 4.75 million to 5 million in Mike's estimation. So this is a good deal for the Pats. It gives them wiggle room when it comes to operating costs, maybe even dipping their toe back into the
Yeah.
free agent market at the end of camp when you get a lot of those veterans that are cut loose. The Patriots may be able to swoop in, or maybe even before that, bring in another veteran body here to get to know what's going on if the Patriots feel thin at any position. So all the way around, great job for the Patriots by locking up Jake. He was all smiles after practice on Monday, as you can imagine. He's getting well paid, but he loves being here in New England, and you can see it. And it's
Right.
something that is really heartwarming. So
And that's something
kudos.
that's important. Guys that want to be here,
Hmm.
people that enjoy this environment and can thrive in it. Not everybody can thrive in it. People, we've had Hall of Famers come in here as free agents and walk out a week afterwards.
Yeah,
Just say,
absolutely.
I'm going home. I'm too
Yeah,
old for this. This is not for me. They
yeah,
just work too damn hard. And
absolutely.
so having this kind of guy here and in the locker room long term, it's fantastic. There's no downside.
Absolutely. And the Patriots place such a premium on special teams, especially the specialists. They got a couple of good ones in Nick Folk and in Jake Bailey. The
Right.
kicking game is well in hand with the Patriots. And of course, you can't forget Joe Cardona as the long snapper. He's a big part of that game as well, folks. So definitely good on the Pats. And we're glad to keep Jake here in the fold long term. But Jake Bailey wasn't the only story on Monday, Murph. The Patriots put on the pads, and a couple of Patriot defenders and offensive linemen put on a little bit of a show. Murph and I will talk about what it means to put on the pads in Foxborough for the New England Patriots when this Monday episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, folks, level with me. We've all been in a situation at some point in our lives when we might be a little bit light on cash. Maybe you could only afford to put a few gallons of gas in the car. That is something that I think a lot of us can relate to right now. Maybe you've got another save the date and you're wondering how you're going to afford another wedding gift. Well, that's where Dave can help. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. There's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or help catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any further hangups. There's no interest or no credit check needed, and millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and you need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from the future you. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE, and sign up for an extra cash account, and you get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/slash legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. That's Dave. Future you will thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to get a new beer fridge with that.
You see, you got to love it. It really, it does. It really lends itself
Yeah.
into, and the app pays for itself, folks. Definitely, if you're in any type of need, Dave is definitely a great app, and I highly recommend it. And see, if you need a new beer fridge, Murph is your guy.
New beer fridge.
He can recommend several great models, folks. You know that.
I've one in every room.
Absolutely, yeah. But we are not surprised by that, Murph, and that's something that, yeah, you know what, we all aspire to. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have one in every room? You should, absolutely. Always an endless
You drive around
supply
on
of beer.
tag sale day and you find one. There's just
That's right.
somebody there giving you one.
Absolutely, folks. As you can see, it is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday, talking punters, beer fridges. We are off to a great start here on Locked On Patriots. But Murph, the big story of the day, all respect to Jake Bailey and
Yeah.
congratulations to him on a great contract extension. The pads came on. The Patriots are putting on the pads. And no, I'm not going to do the young Frankenstein thing. I will not. I can't do that how that Peter Boyle did. That is iconic, and I'm not even going to try to attempt it. But they did put on the pads on Monday, and the New England Patriots now are amping up their practice regimen. The physicality was a little bit higher. The mood in the room was a little higher. Matt
Yep.
Patricia addressing the media beforehand says, finally, we really get to see what's going on here. Bill Belichick alluded to it last week. Real football begins.
Right.
The pads are on right now, and several Patriots stood out a little more, and we're starting to get a little bit of a clearer picture as to how this team may come together. But when you think of pads coming on, Murph, and you think of the padded practices, what are the first things that run through your head? What are you looking for? What should Patriots fans be looking for? It might be a little different than what they saw last
So
week.
you focus on the big round guys that you couldn't focus on last week. That's what you do, people. The guys that are built like me. Um, this is when we finally get to hit somebody. When we finally get to make a move here or there. When our footwork becomes first and foremost as to the success or failure of a football team. Yeah, it's about the offensive line and a little bit more about more than about the defensive line. But no, this is all about the offensive line once the pads come on and we actually get to start seeing some, actual football.
Mm-hmm.
Because until then, it's just flag football. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
is. It's beer league football, and everybody oohs and ahs about um, shots down the field and who went up over who to grab a 50-50 ball, and grab a 50-50 bar for all I care. Now, right now, all we got, I just aged myself a whole lot right there.
I got
But
it.
but right but right now, that's what you want to see. You want to see how this offensive line comes together and how they're interacting with one another, because there are a lot of pieces that have been moved around. There's a new piece in there, and we just want to see how that's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in a lot of ways, we got a chance to see how that's going a little bit on Monday.
Yeah.
First padded practices, but yeah, in true Robert De Niro form, you saw it a little bit, a
Yeah.
little bit.
This is
But
this is where you start seeing us take laps.
absolutely,
We shouldn't have
yes.
to take laps this on the first day. That's just
Yeah,
evil. It is. It's just evil. But the guys are out there and they're taking laps for false starts and so jumping off sides, and you oh God, man, take a lap, Murphy. Take a lap. Here in my sleep.
absolutely. And you talk about the 50-50 jump balls, and you talk about
Yep.
the battles between defensive backs and wide receivers, because really, I think that's what the first few days of training
Yeah.
camp are all about. We heard a lot about Terrence Mitchell making a big step. We heard a lot about Devontae Parker and Mac Jones kind of developing that synergy. There was some of that on Monday. There are the one-on-one drills with the defensive backs and the receivers, and we got a chance to see that. But what my sharp eye was focused on is the offensive line and
Right.
their continued work. We are seeing a lot of that new zone-based run concept, that Shanahanian concept that Murph discussed way back when
Way
and
back
called
when,
this and nailed it right
before
on the money.
anybody else.
There were some pretty good run stuffs today.
Yeah.
We saw some good stuff. In terms of the offensive lineman, Michael Wainu, I think, stood out to me. He held his position well on the majority of his reps. I
Yeah.
think Trent Brown delivered the offensive line headline of the day. Josh Uche tried to speed rush him. Trent
Yeah.
was not having it.
No.
He
Yeah.
how shall I delicately put this? He placed him on the ground to put that. And I thought Uche made a great move. It's just, I mean,
Yeah, he
you're
did. He did.
that's the
Uh,
irresistible force
and
meeting the immovable
Trent,
object.
yeah,
And yeah,
Trent just said, "Who are you kidding? Who are you kidding? Sit
yeah,
sit down, sit down right
yep.
there. Don't get back up. Fake a toe injury, something, just because you were just embarrassed."
Absolutely, without any question. And the defensive side of the ball, there was some good highlights there as well. Devon Godchow, I thought, really
Yeah.
stepped up, and especially in light of the recent contract
Right.
extension. A lot of people have been saying, "Oh, well, he's not worth it. He was
Oh, come
terrible last
on.
year." While I think calling him one of the best defensive linemen in the league could be
Yeah.
considered a
Yeah.
stretch, I understand where Bill's coming
He's
from,
not
and I
always
think
solid.
I
Okay, how
do.
about
I
that?
will say that. I will definitely say that. And I think the potential is there. So I don't think it was as egregious as some people are saying.
No.
But at the same time, he showed why he's worth that
Hmm.
type of contract extension. Really showing off his strength, really showing off his push. And he's doing it against David Andrews. And
Right.
say what you will, David Andrews has been to the puppet show. He's seen the
Yep.
strings, Murph. This guy has seen it all, done it all. And when you can hold your own against David, who competes hard no matter what snaps
That's it.
he's taking, it doesn't matter if it's practice. It doesn't matter if it's training camp. David's playing as hard today as he will in November. That's just the
Hmm.
way he is and the way he's wired. You're doing that against David Andrews. That says a lot to me.
That's it.
So tip of the
You know.
cap to Devon Godchow today,
Yeah.
and Christian Barmore
These
again.
talking, yeah. Oh God, I'm sorry. These talking heads that are running down the Godchow signing, they don't watch football.
Mm,
They watch the game. They sit
yeah,
in their Barca lounger and they watch the game. They don't see him taking up a gaps with two offensive linemen in front of them, and forcing running backs to jump to the B gap and somebody else
mm,
to go in there. It wasn't Barmore's fault. I mean, wasn't Godchow's fault that this linebacking core was too slow to fill that gap, or
mm.
over pursued, and that's where those terrible numbers came against the run. It wasn't Devin Godchow.
Yeah, absolutely. He really impressed me today. And this is
Yeah.
coming from someone who said last week that maybe he's not the answer in the middle part at the nose. Maybe he's better suited at one of the wings on the defensive end, or defensive line, excuse me, defensive tackle. I don't know what I saw from him today. And if I keep seeing the same thing, it's a small sample size. I want to see it a
Yep.
few more times. But if this continues on, the Patriots may have their answer in the middle part of that
Get
defense.
that
And if
chip
they
on your
do,
shoulder, son.
yeah, and if they do, Devin Gutchow hears it too. Don't worry, he
Yep.
hears it. He understands what's going on, and he showed up today like he did, and like he had something to prove. And again, Christian Barmore, I labeled him as the possible X factor in this defense last week, and he is not disappointing me. Won the majority of his battles in pass rush drills. He looked great, getting the better of Cole Strange on occasions. Henry Anderson got in there a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I was glad to see that because we've been on his train, maybe the last three in the region that still remember that Henry's on the team and that he can be a significant contributor. But he's showing why the Patriots invested some good money in him last year as well. So good stuff out of the Patriots offensive and defensive line. I liked the work out of Strange today. Great footwork. There's no question about it. This kid's agile. He definitely can get into position. He's got a lot of athleticism. He needs to work on his hand placement. He tripped himself up a couple of times with some hand checking and some hand fighting. But if he's able to control that, Patriots got a solid guy over at the guard position as well on the left side. So
ended up taking a lap, but what are you going to do?
Yep,
You're
it is.
It's going to
That's
happen.
it. It is.
It's not his first lap. It's not going to be his last one.
It's true. Let's hope it's not going to be, and that's the case for it. So definitely good stuff when the pads come on, Murph, and we're excited to continue to see the pads all week long and now continuously out here in New England. But who's standing out at training camp? Well, Murph and I are going to discuss one name that not a lot of us had on our list of guys that could stand out in camp, but is making the most of the reps that he's being given. Safety Joshua Bledsoe trying to crack the roster in a very crowded defensive backfield for the Patriots. Can he do it? Murph and I will discuss that in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, folks, if you're looking to use your sports knowledge and your sports love to maybe enhance your pocket just a little bit, you definitely want to do it with our good friends at BetOnline.net, your number one source for all of your sports betting needs and information. Find all of the latest developments, league reviews, and news at BetOnline.net because they are your continued source for all sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. BetOnline is the fastest, the easiest way to check on all of your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Get a bigger beer fridge.
Absolutely. And BetOnline can help you do that, folks.
Right.
Folks, we are ready to wrap things up here on Locked On Patriots with the legendary Thomas Murphy, columnist extraordinaire from E2Gsports.com. Folks, anything and everything Boston sports and really sports related, definitely check out. Murph does amazing work, as do all of the great columnists and writers over there at E2Gsports.com. If you're not following them already, give them a follow. Trust me, you will thank me. Great coverage and great stuff. And of course, the legendary buddy myself here. I always recommend his stuff. Murph, speaking of recommendations, there are some players that get a chance to be labeled training camp darlings or training camp standouts. Typically, it's a wide receiver. We've seen this in the past where guys come in, they have a really, really good training camp. A lot of people think that they're putting their best foot forward toward getting a roster spot, and then things start to tail off toward the end, and they either have to settle for the practice squad or they're eventually cut loose. We've seen guys like that come in here. As a tight end, we saw Zach Sudfeld years ago. That was one of the names. Maurice Harris came in here, had a great camp early on, and then found himself on the cutting room floor. Last year, it was Christian Wilkerson who came in, had a good camp. Not quite enough to get the roster spot, but stuck on the practice squad. This year, believe it or not, the camp darling so far is on the defensive side of the ball, and that is safety Joshua Bledsoe. Former sixth-round pick in the 2021 NFL draft out of Missouri. Hard-hitting, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. Did not see the field that much last year due to being on the non-football injury list. So obviously there were that kept him out, but so far Bledsoe's made some headlines, especially Thursday where he stood out, had 3 pass breakups, had 2 the day before. He's been really catching the eye of a lot of people in our profession. When you look at Joshua Bledsoe, Murph, is this something where maybe we haven't necessarily seen everything because the pads aren't on, or is there something to be had here with this kid?
No, I believe there's something to be had here with this kid. If you can remember back to that draft, I wanted Tyree Gillespie, the
Hmm.
other safety out of Missouri that year. So I was a little upset over this pick. But no, this kid has something to offer. He's a lot more versatile than I had seen in his college tape. We see him come down and cover the slot. He's a hard hitting guy. He's a smart football player, and he's somebody that has one gear, and that one gear is a high gear, and that's what you want out of your safeties. I think
Hmm.
the only difficult thing is the mountain that this kid has to climb, and how many safeties Bill is going to end up keeping on the roster, and whether or not he's still considered a safety when the final cutdowns come, and not just Bill is putting together defensive backs and not specifically safeties and corners.
Great points. Great points, especially when you look at the insurmountable hole that he's probably
Right.
facing to try to make it on a safety depth chart that already includes Devin McCourty, Kyle Duggar, Adrian Phillips, Jabril Peppers. Jabril back out on the field today. It was great to see him. I'm really looking forward to seeing him now in padded practices to
Right.
see what he can do. A lot of hard hitting there, great speed, great athleticism. You can't imagine any one of those four guys not making the roster. So if Joshua was going to try to crack the roster, it's probably going to be as a versatile defensive back, like you
Right.
said, someone that doesn't necessarily have the S next to his name or the CB next to his name. He is a defensive back. And I think that's
Right.
where Joshua really kind of has the opportunity to do something. From what I've seen from him, and I've been keeping my eye on him, I've been specifically to watch him closely during camp because he is someone that's intriguing to me.
Right.
The ideal fit for him would be in the D gap or in the slot, that big nickel
Right.
heavy defensive scheme where he's playing man to man coverage assignments, maybe
Well
even
said.
getting some snaps, up close to the line of scrimmage, because
Yep.
that's where this kid can really do his damage. He did that at Missouri when he was healthy. So if you can incorporate him into the rotation, and maybe he takes a leapfrog over guys like Sean Wade, Joanne
Right.
Williams, Miles Bryant. I mean, there are a lot of good, talented corners and safeties on
Yep.
this team, hybrid defensive backs that can really make the type of leap that he needs to do.
Right.
If Joshua was able to show that he can hang with these guys as much or even better, and he does it sustained over a period of time, Patriots are going to have an interesting decision. This kid looks like the real deal to me. Again, it's very early, and there could be a situation where he does end up tailing off. But from what I've seen this year, he's got the right attitude. We talked to him over the weekend on Saturday.
Yep.
Very humble, very focused, and very grateful for the opportunity that
At
he's
the
been
end of the
given.
day, yeah. At the end of the day, he could take Justin Bethel's spot or somebody of
Yeah.
that nature. They could be on the outside looking in to keep this kid on the roster because he can
Hmm.
do so much.
Yeah, and that would say something. I mean, Bethel being one of the best special teamers in the
Yep.
league, and really, I think such a key cog
He
in what
really
this team
is. He
does.
really
You know,
is. But
between Bethel, and then you got Cody Davis as well,
right.
who's technically listed as a safety,
Yep.
but we all know he's a special teamer.
That's it.
There's only so many spots to go around,
Right.
so the more press that Bledsoe gets, the less likely it is that he can slip through the cracks and get to the practice squad. Maybe in a perfect world, that would be the best case scenario. But if he keeps playing at this high level, he's not going to be an easy gut
That's
for the
it.
Patriots. And it may mean more difficult cuts elsewhere in the roster. I think
It
you make a
is.
great point, bud.
I'm sorry. I love Justin Bethel. I love what he
Yeah.
does on special teams. But when you need that extra guy, we saw the way injuries decimated the secondary last
Mhm.
year, and there was just nobody to step up. This kid might be somebody that could take that step up that Bill needs. He could be that next
Absolutely.
man up.
Without question. And that is ultimately what these next few days are going to be about. Next man up. Who takes that step now that the pads are on, and who's going to catch the sharp eye of the Patriots coaching staff? Because in the long run, buddy, as important as you are to the Patriots and as insignificant as I am, our opinions don't mean much in the grand scheme of things to Bill Belichick. He's going to dance to the beat of his own drum, and it's going to be who catches his eye and the Patriots' brass eyes in order for them to see who is going to make the 53-man roster. And that journey continues each and every day in Foxborough. We here at Locked On Patriots will keep boots on the ground, bringing you up to date on the latest news, notes, and analysis from Foxborough. But in the meantime, I thank my good friend, Count of Murphy Fisto himself, for joining me here each and every Monday the way he always does. Folks, follow Murph if you haven't already done so on Twitter at TMurph207. You catch all of his great work at e2gsports.com each and every day. Great piece out on there right now on Deshaun Watson. I highly recommend all of you go out and check that out. And of course, I thank each and every one of you every day for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage, as well as your first listen every day. So now that you've made us your first listen, go and check out the folks over at Locked On NFL. Make them your hit listen of the day. All the NFL news and notes that you need, including the Deshaun Watson looming suspension and the fallout from that, all being covered by our great guys over at Locked On NFL. So give them a follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, Murph, it's been fun. It's been great. We enjoyed it so much. We're going to do it again next week, as we always do. Always honored, always humbled by your presence, my friend.
Thank you so much for having us here. Folks, One Patriots Place will be on Wednesday this week at 10 o'clock in the morning. We've got Pat Lane joining myself, Steve Balistreri, and Classy Claire for the day. We're going to have some great stuff from camp for you there.
Absolutely. And Pat is great. The great coverage that he provides for Pat's Pulpit. Keep that name in mind, folks, because I'll be joining Pat and the guys on Pat's Pulpit on Wednesday evening for their podcast as well. So we're all part of the family here. Wow. It's Locked On Familia here on Locked On Patriots. But in the meantime, folks, continue, please, to stay safe, stay well, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll continue to keep you covered on the latest on your New England Patriots right here in Foxborough. Have a great day, everyone.
Peace.